Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Vicarious Venture Gaming. On this episode, I will once again be reviewing some pre-printed terrain, this time from Battle Systems. Alrighty, everyone. Two things from the outset. Number one, I'm sorry for the background noise. My furnace just kicked on, and it will probably be on throughout the duration while I'm recording this audio. So down the line, I'd very much like to improve the audio quality of these videos. Stay tuned for that. Hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. In addition to that, I also just need to advise from the outset that this is not a sponsored video, specifically from Battle Systems this time. Now, in my other videos, I usually go on and on about why I arrived at choosing this and what my thought process was and things of that nature. Let's skip all that. All you really need to know here for the purpose of this review is I like pre-printed terrain. I've been on the lookout for that recently. You can check out my review of Tinker Turf's terrain as well. Also some fantastic pre-printed options there. But without further ado, let's actually take a look at this terrain on the table because I think it's awesome. And while I'm showing what that terrain looks like, I'll tell you all a little bit more about it, where you can purchase it, and the price points as well.
Here we have stumbled upon a town besieged by the forces of darkness. A necromancer of unseen origins has summoned forth his army of skeletons to summon and send against our noble band of heroes. Will they win? Who will be the victor? Stay tuned to find out.
I was going to edit that part out, but I'm just gonna leave it in. So, yeah. There it is. So, full disclosure up front, these are the main structures that come with the Battle Systems Fantasy Village box. Now, in addition to what you see here, there are a ton of extras. So you can see the boat, for example, down here. There are some carts back here as well. A couple different carts. Houses, wells, there are barrels, there are beds and tables, and the roofs come off, and there are multiple levels when you remove the roofs, so the roofs come off, revealing what's below, and then if that wasn't enough, you can take off this section, and there's even more, and then there are floors. So you can add the floors. So if you're playing, let's say, Dungeons and Dragons, and you want the environments that your adventurers will be exploring to be that much more realistic, all of these buildings have floors that you can put in as well. Now for tabletop wargaming, I'm probably not going to put the floors in, just for ease of setting up all of the terrain, of course. But once again, if you're going to be spending more time actually going inside of these buildings, you can outfit them with bowls, bars, chairs, benches. There's a furnace or a little chimney here. I think this one even has a little, yeah, check that out. Sorry for the shadows. Look at that. Just installs onto the side of the building there. So cool. Now what Battle Systems does is it utilizes these little clips here. And these clips hold the buildings together. Now, what makes this even cooler is that you can follow along on a series of video tutorials that they've posted to their YouTube account, which will show you how to build these specific structures, or if you want to treat it like Lincoln Logs or Legos, maybe that's a better analogy, you can totally do that. You can mix and match these pieces and put them together, I mean, just about however you see fit, so that you can build a variety of building types that are bigger or smaller than what you see here, that attach to one another in a variety of different ways. And don't forget, as I mentioned, all those tiny little accessories that come with it as well. I will post a picture toward the end of this that will have just the stock image, so to speak, of what you can find on their website for all of the smaller little details that are included. I actually haven't completed building all the barrels, for example, quite yet, so I have a little bit of that construction left to do. All right, so I think it's pretty safe to assume that this terrain looks pretty darn cool, but what about the quality? So let's talk about that here for a little bit. Overall, I think the quality is really nice. The print quality specifically, so the actual image itself is vibrant. There's a lot of different textures. Something that I found really cool, and that's a nice touch to add some dimension to an otherwise essentially flat 2D surface upon which these images are printed, is that they do have windows that can pop out. Now it's all essentially cardboard, so when you do that, just bear that in mind. You probably don't want to bend them back and forth too terribly much, but then all the doors can open as well. You can kind of push them back in place a little bit there too. Once again, the roofs come off of everything. The multi-story buildings, you can access the lower levels as well. All of the interiors, reason why I bring that up again, all of the interiors are fully printed as well, across all levels. So you have this nice indoor texture in addition to the outdoor texture as well. And they differentiate that by like some vines, for example, growing along the side here. And then what looks like maybe, you know, traditional wattle and daub style construction on the inside there as well. Really cool stuff. Now, as you're building it, something to keep in mind here, because I surprisingly struggled with it for as easy as I thought it was going to be to slap this stuff together. I struggled with it a little bit for some of the paneling. And what I mean by that is that these slots on the roofs are a great example. So these don't use the little gray clips. Like you can see the little gray clips that are holding the walls and then the roof kind of on top here. So this part, however, these are just more cardboard pieces right there. And if you're not careful, when you are slotting all these pieces together, it's pretty darn easy to tear up that piece of cardboard and accidentally rip the image. Now, it's not that big of a deal just because by the time you get all of this on the tabletop, you're not really going to notice. There's just so much that's visually interesting here that will otherwise occupy your time to be looking at that you're not going to really notice those little rips and tears. At least I highly doubt that you would. But just be mindful of it. Whereas Tinker Turf, I would say that its material is a little bit thicker, a little bit more durable, for example. This is more similar to a puzzle. So if you've ever, let's say, take the board game example, you've punched out the little chits and components to track things for board games or for Warhammer Kill Team, for example, or Warcry, any of those type of things where you punch out all those little indicators to show that my character has moved this far. I would say that that material is closer to what Tinker Turf's was. Whereas if you've ever gone to Target and you've picked up a 1,000-piece puzzle, let's say, the quality of that puzzle and how that image can tear up pretty easily if you're not careful with it, that's actually kind of like what this material is. That's not to detract from it at all. I still think it'll hold up well over time with proper care. It's just something that I want everyone to be mindful of, that they are definitely different materials, or at the very least, if the material itself isn't all that different, just how the image is applied to this one, it seems like it will tear up a little bit easier. So be mindful of that when you're not only putting it together, but also when you are punching out all of these components as well. Which brings me to my next thing. How do they ship this to you? They ship it in flat sheets. So this is all, of course, packed in flat when you get it initially. And then you punch all of these components out, and then you can start assembly from there. So all in all, it doesn't take too terribly long to do this. The most time-consuming part, honestly, is kind of following along with those YouTube tutorials just to make sure that if you do want to build it like what you see here, if you want to follow what's on the box, it'll take just a little time to get through those YouTube videos to be following the steps because they're setting the pace ultimately at which you're following. But still, for the most part, very helpful YouTube videos, very clear instructions for how to get everything put together, and all in all, a fantastic set to fill out specifically a 3x3 board here. This is my 3x3 game mat from Monster Fight Club. And by the time I space this out a little bit differently, I have some trees, for example, I can put on here as well. I think you have a really nice board that doesn't look sparse. I think it would fill out nicely by just adding in some other smaller details and other smaller pieces of terrains, like some scatter terrain, for example, to really bring this together. So a 3x3 game board, I think the Fantasy Village core set with this battle systems is going to be
perfect for this size. Now, that out of the way, let's take a look at what this looks like on a 6x4 game board. Here we have the same amount of terrain on a 6x4 game mat. This is the Irradiated Plains game mat from Frontline Gaming. You can check out my review of that as well. This segment right here won't be too terribly long. I did just want to give you all an example of how much space this would take up on a 6-foot by 4-foot game mat. If it was me, I would want some more line of sight blocking terrain and for sure some scatter terrain, as I mentioned just previously. Even on that 3x3 foot game mat, I would have wanted some more scatter terrain, I think. And especially by the time you get to this size of a game mat, I think having a little bit of extra terrain thrown in there would be good just to make sure that you have the appropriate amount of cover. But still, really, I mean, all things considered, you space this out a little bit more, you still have some good line of sight blocking terrain pieces, especially that large tavern that's such a good focal point and centerpiece. So all in all, my opinions on a 6-foot by 4-foot game mat for the amount of terrain that they provide, I think you do want to add a little bit more to it to really fill things out and provide enough terrain pieces for a game of this size.
I want to take this opportunity to talk about how awesome their customer service is as well at Battle Systems. Hello again from the editing booth, such that it is, I guess. Before I keep rambling on in this section of the video about how awesome my customer service experience was, I left out one of the most important parts, which is the fact that I didn't even order this directly from their website. I ordered this core set from Miniature Market, and I had explained to them that I didn't even order it from them in the email that I'd sent, that I had ordered it through a third party, and that I'd been missing the pieces and everything from there. I sent them a couple pictures as well, just to show them the layout of what I did receive, and then they were just super awesome from there, which I will continue rambling about right now. When I received the Fantasy Village core set, they had sent me 3 incorrect sheets. So the tavern requires multiple sheets to assemble. Instead of 3 sheets required for the tavern, I got 3 duplicate sheets for another building instead. So I simply emailed them to let them know what the issue was and to see if there was anything that could be done about it. I live overseas from them, so I didn't know what shipping costs might be and if that's something that I would have to take care of, and would it even be worth it to have 3 sheets shipped internationally for that reason. So, all that being said, I emailed them about it, got a response very quickly, and they said, no problem, we'll go ahead and send you the replacement parts, no big deal. And very quickly, I received those in the mail. Not only did I receive the replacement parts in the mail, they sent me a whole other tavern. So I now have spare pieces that I can use to build a couple more buildings that don't usually come in the core set, because now I have a spare tavern essentially as well. So I really just wanted to call that out. That was just a phenomenal customer service experience, and almost more so than the product itself. That really makes me want to recommend this. The product itself is great, and I think you'd really enjoy it, really help bring your games to life. But that customer service, if you do have any issues and you need to have those issues resolved, I'm blown away by their customer service, how attentive they were, and how quick they were to resolve the issues. So 2 big thumbs up from me for that. It was awesome. So, all in all, final conclusions. I'm really impressed, top to bottom, with this stuff. Overall, as I mentioned, keep in mind that the quality of the print itself, I think, is really great. Overall, I think it will hold up very well over time. Just be real mindful of the material when you're punching it out of the sheets and when you are assembling it with either the clips to connect the walls together or just with the other little cardboard pieces like on the rooftops as well. Just be really mindful of that and try not to tear it. Also worth noting, I'll call out the fact that they do have a recommendation for widening the slots and trimming those a little bit if you need to do so that they slot together easier. So when you do purchase this, I definitely recommend that you check out those YouTube tutorials, not only so you can build it exactly like the box art, if that's what you want, but also the little tips and tricks that they provide to you along the way as well. So once again, definitely recommend it. If you would like to purchase this, you can find it a couple places that I discovered at least. I ordered mine on Miniature Market. It was $98.99 US dollars, or you can go to their website, and it is a very specific, currently anyway, $103.46 US dollars if you go directly to their website to check that out. I did just want to add one quick thank you at the end of this video as well. This actually isn't in regard to battle systems, but some of the miniatures that you actually saw in the video itself. So if you guys are wanting some miniatures 3D printed, but you don't have anyone that you know or that's local potentially that can print them for you, go check out gamingmatter.com. This isn't an official sponsorship, but I did just want to, as I mentioned, give him a quick shout out and a thank you. The Kenku soldiers, of which there were 3, and then the kobolds, of which there were 3. He 3D printed all 6 of those miniatures and sent them to me in the mail. They were a ton of fun to paint, and they arrived safely and securely and in a very timely fashion as well. So once again, if you're looking around at some STLs but you don't have access to a 3D printer of your own or anyone that you know, go check out gamingmatter.com. His name's Matt, super friendly, great customer service, and he will have, I think, some solutions for your 3D printing needs as well. Alrighty everyone, I think that will about do it for this video. I've been rambling on for long enough, so as always, thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. You can find me on Instagram if you're interested at bard_the_brave. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see y'all next time.